For more than 100 years, the car has basically defined modern life. But right now, that entire industry is being completely torn down and rebuilt from the ground up. So today, we're going to dive into this massive transformation of the global car industry, and we'll start with just the sheer scale of what's at stake. Okay, to really get a handle on the scale of what we're talking about, you have to start with this number. The global car market is worth a staggering $2.9 trillion. To put that into perspective for you, that's bigger than the entire global market for crude oil. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, markets for a single product on planet Earth. And get this, that entire massive industry is right in the middle of a historic revolution. And this isn't just about, changing what kind of fuel you put in your tank. This is about fundamentally rewriting the rules of manufacturing, supply chains, and even global economic power. So to really understand the shockwaves this revolution is causing, we first have to appreciate the kingdom it's disrupting. For 100 years, the internal combustion engine wasn't just a part of the economy. In so many ways, it was the economy. And what's so wild when you look at these numbers is just how deep the roots go. The traditional car industry directly employs over 10 million people. It's the biggest driver for oil demand, for steel, for aluminum. It has been the absolute cornerstone of economies in powerhouse nations like the US, Germany, and Japan. For decades, it's been a truly unshakable system. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. The executive director of the International Energy Agency calls the car one of the most consequential innovations in modern history. And that's not an overstatement. It has literally shaped our cities, our lives, and our global economy. So what on earth could be powerful enough to shake this century-old foundation? Well, the catalyst is the electric vehicle. And the key thing you have to understand here is that an EV isn't just a car with a different engine. It is a fundamentally different machine, a whole different beast, really. Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. An internal combustion engine, it's a masterpiece of mechanical complexity, right? It has something like 2,000 moving parts. An electric car? It's got a simple motor and up to 80% fewer moving parts. Now, that simplicity isn't just a small detail. That simplicity is the shockwave. It blows the doors wide open for new companies, new manufacturing methods, and a completely different supply chain. And right at the heart of that new machine is the battery. Look at this. It makes up a full quarter of an EV's cost. So the crucial takeaway here is pretty simple. Whoever controls the battery, the chemistry, the materials, the manufacturing, they control the future of the car, period. And because of this new, simpler design, a whole new kind of competitor has jumped into the ring, what we're calling new entrants. And think about this for a second. The world's biggest electric car maker today, BYD, didn't even start out making cars. They made batteries. That kind of jump it was almost impossible in the old world of complex engines. Okay, so a brand new technology has just completely disrupted a multi-trillion-dollar industry. So what happens next? A global race begins with entirely new rules. The battlegrounds aren't just in Detroit or Germany anymore. They're in mines, they're in refineries, they're in high-tech battery labs all over the world. And this slide, wow, this reveals one of the most critical new realities of this race. See, to build a battery, you need critical minerals. But even more important, you need to process and refine them. And right now, China has a staggering dominance in this part of the supply chain. Let that sink in for a minute. Order 90% of graphite processing, 80% of cobalt, 70% of lithium. This creates a massive, massive strategic choke point. Now, you might be thinking, how did this happen? Well, it was no accident. As this timeline shows, this dominance is a result of a very deliberate long-term industrial strategy. It started way back with Made in China 2025, where the government identified EVs and their supply chains as a huge strategic priority, and they have used policy ever since to build this commanding position. And that industrial strategy, it translates directly into market power. Here's where you can really see it. In 2024, there were 36 different EV models being mass-produced on a huge scale. We're talking over 100,000 units per year. But the truly stunning fact is where those models are being made. Of those 36, 29 were from Chinese companies. And this isn't just a number, you guys. This is a massive, massive advantage. This kind of scale gives them unbelievable manufacturing experience, huge purchasing power for raw materials, and it drives down costs way faster than anyone else can keep up with.
All right, so given this new reality, this new landscape, how is everyone else responding? How are the world's other automotive powerhouses trying to compete? Well, we can basically break it all down into 5 distinct playbooks for this incredibly high-stakes game.
First up, you've got the incumbents, especially in Europe, who are playing to regain ground. Then you have established leaders like Japan and Korea, and they're sharpening their advantages in high-tech components they're already great at making. The third playbook is North America, playing to domestic strengths by using its huge market and raw resources. Then we're seeing emerging economies pursue balanced growth by attracting tons of investment. And finally, you have brand new players looking to seize new opportunities by finding a little niche in this totally new supply chain. The game board has been redrawn and everyone is placing their bets. But for those legacy automakers, the old guard, man, it is an incredibly tough spot to be in. This table just lays out their dilemma perfectly. On one hand, their strengths are still huge, right? Powerful brands, global networks, lots of profit coming in from their old gas-powered cars. But on the other hand, the challenges are immense. Their money and talent are split between two worlds, and they are years behind in securing the battery supply chains that now define the entire industry. And this brings us to the single most important point of this whole explainer: the brand loyalty, the engine building expertise, the complex supply chains, all the things that made a car company successful for a century. Those might not be the advantages that matter for the next 10 years. Power has shifted. It's now about batteries, software, and scale. So the race is well and truly on. A nearly $3 trillion prize is up for grabs, and the old kings of the industry are now the challengers in a brand new game. So the question that's going to define the 21st century economy is this: where will the next great car be designed? In the traditional heartlands of Detroit and Tokyo, or in the new center of electric gravity, Shenzhen?